Live as if you were to die tomorrow. Learn as if you were to live forever. Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi was an eminent freedom activist and an influential political leader who played a dominant role in India's struggle for independence. Gandhi is known by different names such as Mahatma, a great soul, Babuji, endearment for father in Gujarati, and father of the nation. Every year his birthday is celebrated as Gandhi Jayanti, a national holiday in India, and also observed as the International Day of Non-Violence. Mahatma Gandhi, as he is most commonly referred to, was instrumental in liberating India from the clutches of British. With his unusual yet powerful political tools of satyagraha and non-violence, he inspired several other political leaders all over the world, including the likes of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King Jr., and Aung San Suu Kyi. Gandhi, apart from helping India triumph in its fight for independence against the English, also led a simple and righteous life, for which he is often revered. Gandhi's early life was pretty much ordinary, and he became a great man during his life. This is one of the main reasons why Gandhi is followed by millions, for he proved that one can become a great soul during one's life. They should possess the will to do so. M.K. Gandhi was born in the princely state of Porbandar, which is located in modern-day Gujarat. He was born into a Hindu merchant caste family to Karamchand Gandhi, the Diwan of Porbandar, and his fourth wife Putlibai. Gandhi's mother belonged to an affluent Pranami Vaishnava family. As a child, Gandhi was a very naughty and mischievous kid. His sister Raliet had once revealed that hurting dogs by twisting their ears was among Mohandas's favorite pastimes. During his childhood, he befriended Sheikh Mehtab, who was introduced to him by his older brother. Gandhi was raised by a vegetarian family, started eating meat. It is also said that a young Gandhi accompanied Sheikh to the brothel but left the place after finding it uncomfortable. Gandhi, along with one of his relatives, also cultivated the habit of smoking after watching his uncle smoke. After smoking the leftover cigarettes thrown by his uncle, Gandhi started stealing copper coins from his servants to buy Indian cigarettes. When he could no longer steal, he even decided to commit suicide. Such was Gandhi's addiction to cigarettes. At the age of 15, after stealing a bit of gold from his friend's Sheikh Amlet, Gandhi felt remorseful and confessed to his father about his stealing habit and vowed to him that he would never commit such mistakes again. The first part narrates incident of Gandhi's childhood, his experiments with eating meat, smoking, drinking, stealing, and subsequent atonement. Two texts had a lasting influence on Gandhi, both of which he read in childhood. He records the profound impact of the play Harishchandra and says, "I read it with intense interest. It haunted me, and I must have acted Harishchandra to myself without number." Another text he mentions reading that deeply affected him was Shravana Pitra Bhakti Nataka, a play about Shravana's devotion to his parents. Gandhi got married at the age of 13. In his words, "It is my painful duty to have to record here my marriage at the age of 13. I can see no moral argument in support of such a preposterously early marriage." Another important event documented in this part is the demise of Gandhi's father, Karamchand Gandhi. Gandhi wrote the book to deal with this experiment for truth. His disdain for physical training at school, particularly gymnastics, has also been written about in this part. The initial story of Gandhi's travails in South Africa and of his systematic struggle against oppression is well known. Gandhi repeatedly experienced the sting of humiliation during his long African sojourn. The incident at Maritzburg, where Gandhi was thrown off the train, has justly become famous. When Gandhi, as a matter of principle, refused to leave the first class compartment. He was thrown off the train later. Gandhi also had difficulty being admitted to hotels and saw that his fellow Indians, who were mostly manual laborers, experienced even more unjust treatment. Although Gandhi's legal work soon started to keep him busy, he found time to read some of Tolstoy's work, which greatly influenced his understanding of peace and justice and eventually inspired him to write to Tolstoy, setting the beginning of a prolific correspondence. Both Tolstoy and Gandhi shared a philosophy of non-violence, and Tolstoy's harsh critique of human society resonated with Gandhi's outrage at racism in South Africa. Both Tolstoy and Gandhiji considered themselves followers of the Sermon on the Mount from the New Testament, in which Jesus Christ expressed the idea of complete self-denial for the sake of his fellow men. Gandhi also continued to speak moral guidance in the Bhagavad Gita, which inspired him to view his work not as self-denial at all, but as a higher form of self-fulfillment. Adopting a philosophy of selflessness even as a public man, Gandhi refused to accept any payment for his work on behalf of the Indian population, preferring to support himself with his law practice alone. But Gandhi's personal quest to define his philosophy concerning religion did not rely solely on sacred texts. At the time, he also engaged in active correspondence with a highly educated and spiritual Jain from Bombay, his friend Raychandra, who was deeply religious yet well versed in several topics from Hinduism to Christianity. The more Gandhi communicated with Raychandra, the more deeply he began to appreciate Hinduism as a non-violent faith and its related scriptures. Yet, such deep appreciation also gave birth to a desire to seek inner purity and illumination without solely relying on external sources or the dogma within every faith. Thus, although Gandhi sought God within his tradition, he espoused the idea that other faiths remained worthy of study and contained their truths. Not surprisingly, even after his work assignment concluded, Gandhi soon found a reason to remain in South Africa. This pivotal reason involved the Indian Franchise Bill, with which the Natal legislature intended to deprive Indians of the right to vote. Although a last-minute petition drive failed to the Indian Franchise Bill from passing, Gandhi remained active and organized a much larger petition, which he sent to the Secretary of State for the Colonies in London and distributed to the press in South Africa, Britain and India. The petition raised awareness of the plight of Indians and generating discussions in all three continents to the point where both the Times of London and the Times of India published editorials in support of the Indian right to the vote. Gandhi also formed a new political organization called the Natal Indian Congress, a clear reference to the Indian National Congress, which held regular meetings and soon after some struggles with financing started its library and debating society. They also issued two major pamphlets, an appeal to every Briton in South Africa and the Indian franchise, an appeal which offered a logical argument against racial discrimination. He was also thrown off the train when he didn't agree to move from his first class seat, which he paid for. Though at first Gandhi intended to remain in South Africa for a month or a year at most, he ended up working in South Africa for about 20 years. During his struggle against inequality and racial discrimination in South Africa, Gandhi became known among Indians all around the world as Mahatma, or also known as the Great Soul. At the request of Gopal Krishna Gokhale, conveyed to him by C.F. Andrews, Gandhi returned to India in 1915. He brought an international reputation as a leading Indian nationalist, theorist and community organizer. Gandhi joined the Indian National Congress and was introduced to Indian issues, politics, and the Indian people primarily by Gokhale. Gokhale was a key leader of the Congress party, best known for his restraint and moderation and his insistence on working inside the system. Gandhi took Gokhale's liberal approach based on British Whiggish traditions and transformed it to make it look like Indian. Gandhi took leadership of the Congress in 1920 and began escalating demands until on 26 January 1930 the Indian National Congress declared the independence of India. The British did not recognize the declaration, but negotiations ensued with Congress taking a role in the provincial government in the late 1930s. Gandhi and Congress withdrew their support of the Raj when the Viceroy declared war on Germany in September 1939 without consultation. Tensions escalated until Gandhi demanded immediate independence in 1942 and the British responded by imprisoning him and tens of thousands of Congress leaders. Meanwhile, the Muslim League did cooperate with Britain and moved against Gandhi's strong opposition to demands for a separate Muslim state of Pakistan. In August 1947, the British partitioned the land between India and Pakistan, each achieving independence on terms that Gandhi disapproved of. After arriving in India, Mahatma Gandhi successfully organized satyagraha movements in various places. In 1916, he travelled Champaran in Bihar to inspire the peasants to struggle against the oppressive plantation system. Then, in 1917, he organized a satyagraha to support the peasants of Kheda district of Gujarat. Affected by crop failure and a plague epidemic, the peasants of Kheda could not pay the revenue and were demanding that the revenue collection should be relaxed. In 1918, Mahatma Gandhi went to Ahmedabad to organize a satyagraha movement amongst the cotton mills. Emboldened with the success in the satyagrahas held in various places, he decided to launch a nationwide satyagraha against the proposed Rowlatt Act 1919. This act gave the government enormous powers to repress the political activities and allowed the detention of political prisoners without trial for 2 years. Mahatma wanted non-violent civil disobedience against such unjust laws, and it would start the strike on 6th April. After passing of Rowlatt Act and followed by the Jallianwala Bagh incident, which was initiated by General Dyer, who killed nearly 1,000 men, women, even the children who were taking part in the Baishakhi festival in Amritsar on 13th April 1919. Bapu thought of launching a more broad-based movement in India. He also showed his support to Khalifa, where Khilafat movement was happening in Turkey. This movement was also organized by Mahatma Gandhi and the Ali brothers in India. They also had a hope that there will be unity between Hindus and Muslims. This was initiated by Gandhi in the Congress session held in Calcutta in 1920. Gandhiji initiated the non-cooperation movement, the session of Congress which was in Calcutta 1920. Then the non-cooperation movement was adopted in the Congress session of December 1920, which was held at Nagpur. It began with the surrendering of titles that the British government awarded, boycotting of civil services, army, police, court and legislative councils. In February 1922, Gandhiji withdrew the non-cooperation movement due to the violent incident that happened in Chauri Chaura, where 22 policemen died when the people in the struggle set fire to the police station by locking it. Britain's Salt Acts prohibited Indians from collecting or selling salt, a staple in the Indian diet. Citizens were forced to buy the vital mineral from the British, who, in addition to exercising a monopoly over the manufacture and sale of salt, also exerted a heavy salt tax. Although India's poor suffered most under the tax, Indians required salt. Defying the salt tax, Gandhi reasoned would be an ingeniously simple way for many Indians to break a British law non-violently. He declared resistance to British salt policies to be unifying theme for his new campaign of Satyagraha or mass civil disobedience movement. On March 12, Gandhi set out from Sabarmati with 78 followers on a 241-mile march to the coastal town of Dundee on the Arabian Sea. There, Gandhi and his supporters were to defy British policy by making salt from seawater. All along the way, Gandhi addressed large crowds, and with each passing day, an increasing number of people joined the Salt Satyagraha. By the time they reached Dundee on April 5, Gandhi was at the head of a crowd of tens of thousands. Gandhi spoke and led prayers, and early the next morning walked down to the sea to make salt. Civil disobedience broke out all across India, soon involving millions of Indians, and British authorities arrested more than 60,000 people. Gandhi himself was arrested on May 5, but the Satyagraha continued without him. On May 21, the poet Sarojini Naidu led 2,500 marches on the Darsana salt works, some 150 miles north of Bombay. Several hundred British-led Indian policemen met them and viciously beat the peaceful demonstrators. The incident, recorded by American journalist Webb Miller, prompted an international outcry against British policy in India. In 1931 of January, Gandhi was released from the prison. He later met with Lord Irwin, the Viceroy of India, and agreed to call off the Satyagraha in exchange for an equal negotiating role at a London conference on India's future. In August, Gandhi travelled to the conference as the sole representative of the Nationalist Indian Congress. The meeting was a disappointment, but British leaders had acknowledged him as a force they could not suppress or ignore. India's independence was finally granted in August 1947. Gandhi was assassinated by a Hindu extremist, Nathuram Godse, less than 6 months or later. Hats off to the father of our nation, who built this nation strong. Relationships are based on 4 principles: respect, understanding, acceptance, and appreciation. Thank you. This is Naresh Arathi from NN Kids Academy for the documentary on Gandhiji.